Welcome back to the Digital Workplace Podcast. Today, I'm very excited. We have a great guest. We have Sahin Boydas on the show. He is the CEO of RemoteTeam.com. Sahin, how are you today?
I'm very good. How are you? Thank you for
I'm
inviting me.
I'm excited that you said yes and you're on the show. You got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. RemoteTeam.com is a great site. A lot of good resources there. But let's be sure you run this remote team. You might be some kind of bot or some kind of AI thing that's out there. So I want to prove that you're human. Your check-in question is, what's something you are thankful for today?
I'm really thankful for my human experience. I really like it. With the all ups and downs, in working in a tech company, like your life changes like every day.
Yeah.
There can be five things going, or there's one thing going great, but at the same time there's five things horrible going, and you have to have this roller coaster effect that you need to have a good stomach.
Yes.
Keep yourself healthy and don't take it seriously. But it's insanely difficult not to take it seriously. But I do it. Like, I was an entrepreneur, and my family, I'm like third generation entrepreneur. I'm not used to it or immune to it, but it's seriously difficult. It's seriously difficult.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody yesterday who was a former guest on the show, and it's the same thing. It's ups and downs. It's you
Roller
have
coaster.
to get used to that kind of lifestyle if that's what you want.
Yeah, you're always on a roller coaster. Like, think
Yeah.
about, you are in a roller coaster for 8 hours, and no one is stopping it.
That is a good analogy. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
I have a
tell
lot
us.
of friends who is super sick, by the way. Like, you see them, they are super cool people raising hundreds of $1,000,000, but in the back, like, their body is rotting. So you need to be really thankful for the experience. Otherwise, there's no way to survive in a high competitive tech environment. It's like very difficult.
Wow. Well, lead us into a little bit about your company, RemoteTeam.com. Tell us a little bit about the background of it and what it is.
So I will tell something. Maybe I'm telling it for the first time for you. This is very interesting.
Okay.
I will tell you how I bought the domain name. It's
Okay. Yeah. Because that's a great domain.
Yeah, it's a great domain. So I moved to Silicon Valley 10 years ago. It's like in a 10 years, I had like great chance to get great investors, working with great people, having great co-founders. And I always had a remote team, like always. I never had, and we had an office that's now Uber's driver center in San Francisco, but it was a shared office. And we go time to time with my co-founder, but all of our team and employees was all over the world: Europe, Russia, India, Turkey, Israel, like Mexico, like always. And I sort of always believe in the remote work, because before that, I was in a very short time in my life, I had an office 1 hour away, and I was 1 hour in traffic. And I like what Elon Musk say about this, is like, it's a soul killing experience. Like, you really wasting your 1 hour, and it's not 1 hour because you have to relax the whole, like the hormone, like you are in a war in the traffic in my head, right? It's so crazy. And I remember really clearly when I was talking with investors 10 years ago, when I was telling them I had the remote team, they always tell me remote team will not work, don't have a remote team, people will hire you for your local talent. And now it changed a lot. It's insane. Now it's like the first thing, oh, do you have a remote team? It's now the cool thing. And because of that, I had a lot of operational experience on this. And I was in August summer 2019, before COVID. I went to Costa Rica, and I had the ayahuasca experience there. And I really see sort of a future of the world, that everyone's working remote, empty streets of San Francisco, California. I didn't know it was COVID or something, but I saw some visions. And then I was in Stanford Startups, the accelerator that I was part in, and there was 20 founders there, and nearly all of them are hiring remote, and they have the same questions, like how I can hire someone in Germany, how I can hire a contractor, how I can send money. Is there like Gusto for remote teams, like a payroll for remote teams, right? And I said, okay, wow. Like, I had the domain name for 5 years ago. I was just waiting the time. I said, okay, the time is arrived. And just before COVID, I was able to cooperate in October, and it was a great journey since then.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that story about how you just were in the right place, the right time. You've been doing it for
Yeah,
long enough that you had the experience behind it.
yeah.
Um,
I in the remote team is my third company, and my second company sort of divided into two. So it's like I will say it's my fourth company in Silicon Valley. I realize it's all about timing. Like
hmm,
Silicon Valley, like you get the amplification effect when you have a great timing, like because the wind blows you behind, and whatever you do, like if you are sort of one of the top, you can really get a lot of funding, you can get a lot of people, a lot of people wants to work with a good timing product. Like it's Silicon, I didn't realize this in the last 10 years, but after remote team, I sort of realized like it needs to be a sort of a perfect timing product. Like
hmm.
why now is really important.
Yeah, that's a great perspective.
Yeah.
When it comes to the idea of like the now that we're in, a lot of companies, like you said, they're all looking about how do we do this remote thing? How do we do this hybrid thing? What do you find are some of those typical fears that people have about remote work that really are unfounded, that are very easy to get across?
Yeah, I think people think um, like there's two types of companies. There's traditional companies and there is, let's say, future Gen Z, like, okay, remote first companies, right? They have a feeling that like you need to see the person near you to have like a connection. And if they have a very weird tendency, but that is also true, I will not, so I think it's some valid points that if you are not in office, you don't work. Uh, these are like I think two very basic stereotypes. I don't think which exist.
Hmm.
And if you have a great culture, if you hire great people, if you have team members who love their work, uh, they actually work more at home than the offices. And then we see it in the COVID. When I was telling this to people before COVID, I was no way, like people will not work. But now in the COVID, after COVID, in the new normal, we start to see that, right? People are working way more hours at home than the
Yeah.
office, and they're way happier in their home. Some people with their families, some people with their loved ones. So I think these are the two basic fears because we have a weird idea that for 100 years, right, from since the Industrial Revolution, you need to go somewhere and because of that you sit somewhere and you're getting paid, right? So you have to be in the office, right? So we have a social construct, like an idea construct about around this for like since like 100 years, right? Since 50 years, like
Yeah.
since 19th, right? So that is with all the live tools we have, it's changing. And of course there is human element is a little bit like little bit less, but there will be, we are building things and there will be companies that there will be new kind of um, methods to bring that human element into the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really believe that like going to office is a soul killing experience. Like it's like you have to, like in San Francisco 101 road, like you are wasting 1 hour, 1.5 hour of your life if you are coming from San Jose. And
Yeah.
this happens everywhere, right? And 2 hours of your life, 1/10, 1/12 of your life is wasting in a car, which most cars don't even have a filter. So you just smell all the gas from the street and it makes your IQ lower. It's proven. Actually, they made studies around it. It's horrible. So I tell like, the people who has these two fear, don't worry about this. Even you have it, just keep it. Doesn't matter. You will see the efficiency when you really hire great people because people will be more happier in remote environment and they will even work more efficient and might be more hours, right?
Yeah.
So that fear is not very valid, and companies are seeing it right now.
Yeah. So Sahan, what are some of the things that people should be afraid of, or should they're often not prepared of when they make that leap into remote work? They haven't really thought through those issues. What are some of those issues you think about?
Yeah, the first thing I see, in traditional companies, not like tech startups, the trust. Like they really like, because there is no monitoring, seeing a thing, right? If you are in office, your boss or your manager sees you all the time, right? Or you
Right.
are there, you punch your card, right? You know, we have these cards, like it's real. Like before you go somewhere, like you put a card, they know when you enter, and then they have another card when you want to eat outside. Then when you can enter, they track your time, and it's a timesheets. It's like sort of the way that it's also the work legal work our think work, right? So in that remote environment, we don't have that, right? So it's really a trust-based system, and you really need to trust your team. And now people really work wherever they want. So it's sort of more like you really need to hire people who are really passionate about the product you are working on.
Hmm.
Then you don't need to monitor people, because I think in corporate life, people really don't like what they are doing. So you have to sort of monitor them, right, if they're gonna work or not, right? But in remote work environments, these things don't happen, and they have a fear that, or that we will be less efficient, but it's not the truth. Now we see amazing successful companies building great environments nearly fully remote, right? And
Yeah.
it's really successful. Yeah. And we have
So
new tools now. We have new tools like Zoom, Slack. I really like async meetings. So we have a lot of new tools right now that makes this way more efficient and easier.
yeah. So I'm hearing you saying measuring employee productivity needs to be totally reworked in people's minds. You can't just base it off of the old model of presenteeism. If you're sitting in your seat, you're doing work. Like you have to do something new.
Exactly.
So what
Exactly.
are some things in your own company? Like how do you measure, because your team is fully remote, how do you measure if your people are doing a good job or not? Like what's your standards for productivity?
So we are a 40 people team.
Hmm.
We are not like 500, or we are not 3, 4. So we this is very weird. We don't have product managers and we don't have deadlines.
Hmm.
Like we work in a 2 week sprint. Um, and okay, if we have a very big product that we want to build and it's taking 4 months, we divide it into these groups, and we do that in like 2 week sprints. And the way we measure it is we also don't do like you didn't deliver your thing on time. Like I think when you everyone knows, like we are telling like this is what we are working on, and our team is really dependent on each other. And when we build a structure like that, people are coming with their parts sort of in the correct time, on the deadline, before deadlines, and almost of the time over delivering, because they know that like we are working together and depending together, right? And we do it in a more like cultural way. Like we don't use any tools, but we have something that's very interesting. I really like this. We have desk time.
Hmm.
We have a time tracking tool. It's optional for people to install, but if you install, we give you overtime. And everyone's desk time is open to each other, so people can see their desk time. So because when you start to see what you work on and what you waste your time on, it becomes so obvious. Oh my God, like I spent so much time in searching. Maybe I didn't know this open source. Maybe I didn't know this part of the code. So we use desk time, and there's a lot of tools like this, like Time Doctor, Rescue Time. And I read something like the WordPress founder said, like, if I didn't have Rescue Time, I will not able to build WordPress, because it was shocking that I can do some things with this efficiency. So we really like this time, and people see what they work on, how much time they spend on. And but we don't go check it. Like we don't go
Yeah, yeah.
like, you spend time on YouTube, like why the hell you do it? It's totally open, and everyone sees it. And it in a remote environment sort of like become the punch card, right? And people say, oh my God, like I was wasting all the time in Spotify or YouTube. They start to see it instantly, right? We use that. And there's like efficiency there. Like if you are a coder, and if you search a lot, it means that you are still learning. So we focus on the learning piece a lot, and we are product-driven people. Like the whole thing is like, can we build this product in the time we want, and in the MPS we want, right? Our users will be happy, and that is our performance. Like users saying great or not, right? It's that simple for us.
Yeah.
We are really product-focused people.
I love the idea of desk time, and it's specifically not like saying it's mandated. Everyone's got to use it, and we're going to track it.
Yeah.
It's a method to kind of judge your own productivity and making it optional like that. We've talked to other people who. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And I see insane success on, like, we built, like in my previous companies, I'm using like a time tracking tool. I will call it performance management, actually. I don't call it time tracking, but it's easy for people to search. So let's keep it time tracking here for now. I see insane benefits. Like everyone turns into like, oh my God, like I was spending time on so many wrong things, and when they see, wow, like I was surfing on the web, I was not using Visual Studio Code, like it's mind blowing how people change.
Wow.
And we have a lot of young people in our team. Like we have like a guy who is 17 years old in our team. Like we have a lot of people. We are their first job. We are their first company that they ever work. I really like to get people in university second, like sophomore year, right? Second year.
Yeah,
second year. And we are their first company. So they didn't build the skills yet, right? So when this time comes to the play, like it says, wow, like, and they really work, and we give flexible time to people. Like we don't have something like you have to work 8 hours a day. Like some people work 12 hours on Monday. Some people work half day in Fridays, and we actually give Fridays half day. Actually, people most of the time tell like don't work Fridays, but people work half day on Fridays.
Yeah. Talk to me about the cultural elements, because you said you have people working for you from all over around the world. What are the kind of things you've learned about working with different cultures as you've built out these teams?
Yeah, I think one great thing of remote work is we are, at least in US, in the last in 2 years ago, we are really living in a divisive environment. Like we were really on the edge of a civil war, and God bless the new president, sort of like calm the people, make the people together, right? So we have to do a lot of things around diversity. Like it's really sad. It's really heart shattering. And I thought so much about this topic in generally. And what I realized, location is actually like a very simplification of the problems of why there is diversity. Because if you are coming from Ireland, if you are coming from India, if you are coming from Israel, if you are coming from Turkey, Russia, right? The location is actually the culture, right? Where you come from is actually define your culture in the old world, right? But with remote work, everyone is coming from the same distance, right? Everyone is remote, right? So it is gonna change this cultural element of, I think, one of the greatest thing that it will happen. It gives enough great opportunities to people all around the world, and it actually will make places more diverse and more inclusive. And you have more diversity and inclusion, you create more diverse ideas. The more diverse ideas you have, you create more creativity. If you have more creativity, you have more revenue, period. It's that simple. So the culture element, I really enjoy a lot. Like, because even in remote team, it's my favorite tool in remoteteam.com is we have holidays, and we have official holidays in every country, and we have religious holidays in every country. It's pretty interesting.
Right.
So every day, I would say every time, like you get a random holiday in like Africa or in India or in Turkey, like what the hell is this? Like, and now we allow people to talk about these holidays, and we learn a lot. Everyone learn a lot in these like cultural sharing their culture, and this is like more like a personal culture thing. As a company culture, we fully focus on product. Let's build great products. Let's enable people to work remotely. Let's save their time so they don't waste time on traffic. Let's make very easy for everyone. But on the other hand, when it's more like human to human cultural thing, is like we really enjoy, I think people really enjoy talking to each other. And we have a big meeting weekly, and we do breakup rooms, and everyone talks about some random cultural element from their countries, and it's like mind-blowing. It's like, what, that is real? And then we allow people to communicate sort of like without filter, okay? And then it sort of builds up and then breaks all the stereotypical things around that, and it's pretty fun. Like I think people really like it, but we allow people to say whatever they want. Like that, people say like, "What? That is real?" Like it is, yeah, it's like real. Like people do this for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that because there's so much to learn. Like you said, in a time when it feels like we are more divisive, at least in the United States, like just to have those interactions, and in the work setting, that's often like where you want to have those. You have those chance encounters with somebody from a different perspective, and that often leads to a perspective shift of your own.
Yeah, exactly. Like the more, this is very interesting. Like I really enjoy this analogy. Like if you look at the cities that has a seashore, it's more left and democratic, right? And the inside, and this is like similar to most countries in like, even like you go to South France versus North France. If you go to Turkey, Mediterranean, the middle. If you go US, all the like the seas, because they have more people. When you have more people, you don't become conservative. You become like more like a liberal, like so many different ideas. Like you get the opposite, right? Because you start to have so many different people in your life from all over the world, right? So and remote work sort of does that too. Like so, it creates the company like a seaport. So you get so many different people from all over the world. So
That's interesting.
yeah, you have a lot of cultural infusion, I will say. And
Yeah.
then the more you have that, your brain social contracts that we think that is correct or right will break up. And the more it breaks up, you become more open-minded people, because we have a lot of junk in our brains. A lot of stupid stereotypes and a lot of junk.
Yeah. Well, Sahin, my last question for you is about when a lot of people think of remote work or distributed work, the one complaint is that it tends to be slower. It tends to take longer to get things done, to get decisions. And a lot of that, in your case, maybe with the time zones. When you have people spread across lots of different time zones, it's hard to catch people in real time. Most of your discussions end up being asynchronous. That's there, which has its advantages, but one disadvantage tends to be things just go a little bit slower. So talk to us about your experience with that. Do you find that true? And how have you coped with that? Do you embrace that, or do you work against that?
So that is a great question. That is a very great question. So if a company was working same time zone and sync for years, the culture and the people are not used to work asynchronous
Right.
and with different time zones, and it's really difficult to change that. Like it needs a lot of, so like I like the GitLab example. In GitLab interviews, they really hire people who are good, excellent communication, plus they are excellent in writing. Like they are really getting people who types more than they talk. Okay. So, and they get people who are really can work in async environment. So then they can do perfectly the best async in the world, maybe. right? But I really like the human touch element of it, and I say to our team, like, if you are not writing 100 words per minute, try to send your voice message. Like, if you can type faster than your voice, you can write whatever you want. But if you are not that fast, let's do more voice-to-voice communication, then we save more time, right?
Yeah.
Because I see some I'm also advisor in investors. So many companies. I see some companies that they like. God bless, we have desk time, so we see, oh my God, we spend so much time in Slack. So it means that we have to do a little bit more communication. So what we do, we are our team time zone difference is around 7 hours. I think this is important. So if you are a California company and hiring someone in China, it's really difficult.
Right.
Okay. So the best way for them to pair is you need to sort of have another smallish hub or some people in England that they will work with this team. So what we do is we put like 3-4 hours that intersect with each other. So even the team is in Turkey, and we also hire people who like to work at nighttime.
Yep.
So they have free time on the daytime, so they can do whatever they want in their daytimes, and then they work at more in the nighttime. So that is really, when you are hiring people, we really look into that. And our team is work not like a one synchronous 8-hour chunk. They work in like small chunks, right? They wake up, they do a breakfast or not, then they work 3-4 hours, they do their errands and stuff, whatever they need to do, and then they work another big chunk after nighttime, and they can shift that back and forth. So this is really important. Like, so, and because of that, we have a flexibility for people to come together on 2-3 hours times and talk nearly every day. So we are not fully async. We do a lot of task async, but when we feel that there is something slowing down, we have these like 30 minutes. It's not a stand-up. We don't do it like a structured stand-up. Like, people come together and like talk. And if you don't have anything to talk, which rarely happens, just talk random stuff, like a refrigerator talk or something, whatever you need to do, right? Icebreaker talk. But we make that times, like everyone, like every team, like have some their common times that they come together and talk about the product, about what they are working, about the problems, because otherwise, like, it can get really slow in async, because you said something, they said something in 2 hours, you said something in 3 hours later, it just never ends, right? And it's like, no way, like, we just come together and do that. And the time zone difference thing is, like, some people can't really work at night, right? Or like they start to stay after 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, like it lowers their quality of life. So either you have to have people who likes to work at night, most engineers do, or you need to have maximum 5 to 7 hours time differences between the groups of people, or you need to be really good in async. That's, I think, a few choices you have.
Yeah, I think those are a lot of the issues that people need to start thinking about and be ready for, to recognize that those are your options. Either you get amazing at async communication and really only hire people that can do that well, or you like, if you pick somebody who's working in India, but they're a morning person, and you're on the West Coast in the US and you're a night person, like, you're not going to talk to each other very much. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, it's not gonna work. Like, I had a meeting. I try not to work at night times, and I had a meeting today at 2 a.m. Like, it destroyed my day. Now I had half sleep, then I slept again. Now I need to get coffee. I like go get like a super strong coffee, which, like, drinking coffee is not good, but we drink more and more, right? It's just like, it's just horrible to work if you are not a night person, as you say. It's really difficult. Like, some people love to work, and then we really ask it through our interview process, even in the early, like, do you work at night? And if they say yes, if they say no, then we have to find something else, and then we pair it with someone else
Sure.
who works half off, right?
Well, Sahin, this has been amazing. I feel like you're one of those people that's going to continue to report back from the field, like things you're learning back to the rest of us who are trying to figure these things out. So we really appreciate you doing that. Where can people go if they want to learn more about your product?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last part. I'm very sorry. It was just, I got a weird disconnection. Yeah.
Yeah. Where should people go if they want to learn more about you and your product?
Like, I am very active in LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Like, I seriously respond every question that comes there. And remoteteam.com is really the place, and you can just book a demo, and we have great onboarding, sales, success people. They, I think, explain the product way better than me. I'm such a feature person, right? Founders are feature. Like, we like one feature and talk about, but the customer don't want that. Like, they want to hear something else, right? We have like great people who can tell the products way better than me. And like, with not remote team related, everything else like LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, I'm really active. Like,
Fantastic.
I really read every message. Yeah.
Well, we'll put all those in the show notes. Sahin, thanks for being on the show. We look forward to staying in touch with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.